It's ironic that I'm making a video about procrastination, given I procrastinated on this video for like a month. So, hi. So, I put up a story on my Instagram asking people what I can make next on YouTube, and I put a few options that I think I could speak about and could be interesting for people to watch. And this video was voted the highest. So, here we are. I'll tell you how I finally started creating content on Instagram. I think I'm qualified just to tell you how I started creating reels on Instagram. I've stopped procrastinating about that for at least the most part. So, in my perspective, I think my personality aligns with this kind of work. So, I'm going to take you through a journey of my childhood, my career, all of that, a little bit of an overview of everything to tell you how I landed in this position exactly. So, I've always been a creative person ever since I maybe opened my eyes or something. A little cuckoo in the head, behaving a little different from everyone. The Anjali that was unhinged, so to speak, had a lot of Dora the Explorer energy. She wanted to try everything. But at the same time, she was really, really scared of doing something that was considered out of line. Whatever exploration she was doing within the boundaries that in her head were safe. Only thing that she wanted to do was not mess up. She didn't want to be quote unquote the loser definition of the world that she interpreted was the loser definition of the world. But her head and her heart kept telling her to go out of the way. But she was so scared of, doing something like that, just didn't listen to any of it. So I did the whole schooling, going to college, getting education, then starting a corporate life. The entire drill I did. I was the classic rebel kid of the house. I was always making quote unquote wrong decision in her career, probably won't amount to anything kind of decisions in her career. I was that kid of the house. And I was really scared, that these little spots that I keep showing off my personality to people and they're looking at me like I'm the biggest disappointment. So I just kept doing everything that would keep me away from it. And my biggest fear was becoming a loser, which is not like everyone else. Comparison was a huge fear. Getting left behind was a huge fear. So I kept suppressing it until my education, my job, everything burnt me out so much that I had nothing left in me. There came a point I was so burnt out with everything, so heavily burnt out with everything that I just could not breathe anymore. I just could not take it anymore. I was fried, black, crisp. That's how burnt out I was. Another thing that happened in the same phase was because I was a little older, I was around my mid 20s, I had built enough confidence in me to know maybe I'm not that big a loser. Maybe I can do this. उतना थोड़ा बहुत बिल्ड हो गया था कि मतलब रोटी कपड़ा मकान तो अफोर्ड कर ही लेंगे. उतना कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड हो गया था तब तक. वर्क एक्सपीरियंस हो गया था, थोड़ी सी दुनिया देख ली थी 25 साल तक. होल थिंग ऑफ प्लानिंग, प्लॉटिंग, स्ट्रेटेजी, रेज्यूमे, लिंक्डइन, इट वाज जस्ट नॉट वर्किंग आउट फॉर मी. आई वाज डेड, लाइक आई सेड, फ्राइड क्रिस्प. मेरे अंदर बचा ही नहीं था सिर्फ इंट्यूशन के अलावा कुछ भी. जो इंट्यूटिवली फील हो रहा था ना, बस उतना ही करने की बैंडविड्थ बच गई थी एक पॉइंट के बाद. उसके अलावा खत्म हो चुकी थी मैं पूरी. तो इंट्यूटिव आइडियाज मैंने एग्जीक्यूट करने शुरू कर दिए जो स्कैरी थे, पर मैं कर सकती थी क्योंकि वो अंदर से आ रहे थे. उनको ऐसे बाहर ऐसे पकाना नहीं पड़ रहा था, जबरदस्ती खींचना नहीं पड़ रहा था. मुझे जो भी इंट्यूटिवली फील हो रहा था ना, वो मुझे करने में इजी लग रहा था उस वक्त, एज कंपेयर टू द राइट थिंग टू डू, सो टू स्पीक. So my intuition at the time was that I need to leave my family's house and move out in order to further my growth. Living in the same house felt like was blocking my growth. It was an intuition, it was a feeling. It was not coming from a place of logic too much. A little bit, yeah. But the fact that, I need to take responsibility for my own expenses, basic roti kapda makan. It came from that logic, but mostly it was a feeling, that I just need to move out of this house. My friend was living in Bombay at the time. She was planning on getting her own apartment. So we decided to get an apartment together. I had some savings with me. और मेरे पास बहुत बड़ा privilege था कि मेरे family was not dependent on me financially. I took full advantage of it and I just left the house. I had no job, by the way, at this time. I had no backup plan. I was in the process of applying for a few gigs that were part-time, but I had no confirmation from anywhere. I just moved out on a whim. The apartment that we rented was quite cheap, so I was scared, but I wasn't that scared. I thought ho jayega manage. So we moved in together, and coincidentally, by the grace of God, I landed a part time gig. And I realized that I could live off of the part time gig money that I make. It won't be a lot, but enough to ensure my survival. And that's all the confidence I needed at the time. It was a big deal, you know. कोई 9 to 5 job नहीं है, and I get to make money, work at my own pace. What? It felt like a dream come true at that time, and also felt like universe, you know, offering me a helping hand, that while you're following your intuition, which is what you needed, let me give you a helping hand and further your cause, is how it felt. And I took full advantage of the situation. I started exploring multiple avenues at the same time, you know, figuring out what is it that I want to do, you know, what is coming naturally to me, intuitively to me. I just did not stop. That's all I did. I just kept going. I just kept exploring, kept running out of money. There was that. I was new to managing a house, managing my basic expenses. All of that was also new to me, you know. So I actually lost a lot of money in the process. But something in me just kept telling me, keep going. You're being a little crazy, losing all this money in your late 20s, but just keep going. So during my stint in Bombay, I did not just live with my friend. Initially, I lived with her. Then I moved to another flat and had a flatmate, a complete stranger. She actually introduced me through her, God bless her. She introduced me to the idea of acting. She was into it. Um, and that's it. I just started auditioning, started figuring out how it works, landed a few gigs, got paid for it. So, you know, when something like this happens, it changes the chemistry of your brain, is what I think. It changes that feeling in you that it's not just a dream, it's a reality. You know, it's a reality that you can talk to a camera and get paid for it and make a living out of it. So it was no longer just a figment of my thought, it was a reality. I got hard cash paid for a few gigs that I did. So I think that was a huge turning point as well for me. Moving out, figuring out my own expenses, running out of money, realizing this imagination into a reality. All of these things really, I think, shifted one thing after the other in my head. I started believing that if I just kept listening to my intuition, it would land me somewhere. You know, where, I don't know, but it would land me somewhere. And this is not just a hobby that I'm doing, you know, it's not just a fun thing that I'm doing. It's fun, but I also can make a living out of it. That kind of belief sunk in, you know, that it could happen that way. I was landing ad gigs initially as an actor. I wasn't making a lot of money, but enough to sink in that belief further inside me. And then came a point where I had to move back to my house, which was in Delhi, while all of this entire journey of, you know, being away from home, living independently was going great for my career. It was really taking a hit on my health and maybe a little bit on my mental health as well, where I was not eating properly, I was not able to take care of myself properly, and I had to prioritize my health at some point. So while I started to land these ad gigs, I actually had to cut it short and come back home in Delhi and hope that I would continue working in this field here in Delhi, because there I'd heard that people do get work in Delhi as well. It's not as much as Bombay, but you get decent amount of work in Delhi. But when I came to Delhi and I started working on my health and my career at the same time, I had to shut the door. But anyway, so when I came back, I realized the gigs, the acting gigs in Delhi are quite rare. And since I was free from the responsibility of making rent, of making basic amenities, basic food, and every electricity, all of that was off of me. I fell naturally into the idea of content creation because, again, it's to do with being in front of the camera. And, you know, while I was working on my health, I wanted to keep doing this in order to avoid getting too comfortable, because comfort does lead to procrastination in my very personal experience so far. So I just started creating content off of that, and I did not bound myself to a particular category of content. I just started creating content that I was watching. So it was very easy for me to figure out, you know, what exactly is it that I want to make, something that I enjoy watching. You know, so I started exploring. So while I was staying in Bombay, I also lost a lot of weight. When I moved out to Bombay, I was 22 kgs heavier than this. Along with exploring my career options, I was also, you know, working with a nutritionist, trying to lose weight, And ever since the health issues happened, my weight kind of started dropping on its own because of my appetite loss and my health issues. And that was also the reason why I could actually try acting, because I was okay the way I looked in front of the camera. You know what I mean? By the time again I came back, I was still comfortable being in front of the camera, so I could just pick up the camera and start shooting, whatever I wanted to shoot. So I started doing that, and I think it's the process, it's the age, it's the experience, it's the intuition. All of these things kind of brought together the idea of creating content. Through my journey, I've come to realize while an idea is great, there's also a time to it. Hard work is very, very important, but so is alignment. Alignment is right time, right place, all of that. I'm a huge believer of that based on my experience. I started thinking about creating content when I used to watch Superwoman. Lily Singh started creating content, I don't know, a decade ago, maybe over a decade ago. That's when I started getting hit by the idea of creating content. Here I am sitting finally creating content. While I'm still procrastinating, I have started my journey, which is great. So I know there will come a point where I will be making the kind of money that I want to be making out of this. I think the biggest thing right now that, I feel in this phase of my life is how proud younger version of me would be that older version of me has built the confidence to do cuckoo things, to do crazy things that she has also dreamt about but only exist in her fantasy. This one, the older version of her, is making it happen. This older version is way more confident and can own up to any mistake, can own up to any blunder, is close to being fearless, at least on the outside. Inside, I might be a little scared, anxious person, but at least on the outside, I'm like a fearless person. I don't think younger Anjali could support herself. I can actually back myself up. I actually can stand up for myself. I actually can support my crazy cuckoo ideas. So, all of that is also something that I think has come with age. I intend to keep going. I intend to keep figuring out what's in store for me. I intend to keep putting in the work because that's the only thing that I can do. And I hope I give you more reasons to watch my content. And that's about it for this video. I have shot it here and there like a mixed thing because I'm still figuring out how to shoot a linear YouTube video. But I hope you understood what I was trying to communicate through it all. This is my perspective right now. Maybe 2 years later, I'll have a different perspective on the same journey and I'll let you know that as well. If you like any part of this, if you want me to elaborate any part of this, you've got to tell me here on Instagram. Please subscribe to my channel so I get to do more of this. I would like to keep living in the bubble that intuition is taking me places, and to keep this bubble, I need subscribers. So that's it. Bye.